Hello and welcome to Lunchbox, presented by Cafeteria Media. My name is Jordan D. Alexandre, and in this episode, Busy and myself had a chance to speak with Brandon Serafino, a musician and man going through metamorphosis, and we're happy to see it happening. During the course of the conversation, we got a chance to talk about music, but also dive deeper into the man behind it. We got to look into the process not only behind the strings and keys, but the keys that pull on his heartstrings and why he even chose to pick them up in the first place. It was a pleasure talking with this man of music and so much more, and I can't wait to hear what he plays for the interlude of his album dedicated to his dad. Enjoy. All right. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cafeteria Media Presents either Lunchbox or the Diner. You know, we can pick. I don't know. Which one do you like? We can actually maybe do a poll.
I think I
Lunchbox
prefer Lunchbox.
Okay.
The Diner's cool, but I feel like you're just going to have a lot of competition with the Diner being the name of things.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. I like the Lunchbox.
More
as well.
SEO, search engine,
That makes sense.
optimization
That
on
makes sense.
Lunchbox.
All right. So hello, my name is Jordan D. Alexandre, and with me I have.
Brandon Serafino, what's up, everybody?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here on the first inaugural one, by the way.
Oh, wow. I feel honored.
Yeah. So to start off, I just want to ask you two questions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feed yourself? And that's just more of as like a metaphor of like how do you kind of enrich your life? And I could definitely see over the course of the past hour that we spent here how you enrich your life. And then how do you enrich your community? How do you feed your community?
Great questions. Enrich myself personally. I mean, obviously music is a huge outlet.
I would think so.
But sometimes music feels like work, which it is most of the time.
Yeah.
So I need even breaks from that to fulfill myself in other ways, certainly. I love to be outside in nature. I think I'm mostly inspired when I make music. I love to be close to water, close to trees. Luckily, I live near the park, so I literally will walk through Elizabeth every single day. That got me through the first 2 years of the pandemic. Like, just living here, that's how I enriched myself, taking walks there, riding my bike. Simple stuff. Nice. I love basketball. Huge basketball player.
Awesome. Basketball's
kind of like the other side of the coin in music. Like, they're both my loves. And, yeah. If I wasn't 5'7", I hopefully would have had more of a chance. But,
I very much feel that being 5'10".
But those are major ways in which I enrich myself personally, and just taking my time away from my phone, of course. And then enriching community. I mean, that just almost happens naturally. Everything I do here is based on my circle of people and the people that have inspired me. It's why I've stayed in Hartford longer than I probably intended to.
That's fair.
When I moved back from New York, I thought I'd only be here a few years, and it's been 7-8 years later. Close to it. And, coffee shop, like a place like Samia or Story and Soil that I first was at with Elijah back in the day. These are all places that were hubs of activity and culture and events and everything I do. All the shows I do, all the people I support creatively, artistically, that we support each other. That's just, it's so enriching. It feels so good. Like just last night I saw 3 different friends play music, and it's just, that's what community is about. So that's hard to find. It's hard to find a lot of places.
It really is. And personally, I don't really have much experience outside of Connecticut. Like, I've never moved outside of Connecticut. I have dreams to move to New York. I have dreams to maybe move to LA, Boston potentially. But like, my circle has always been within Connecticut. And I'm actually very proud to say that. And, pause me or whatever if you want to at any point in time. But it's a really beautiful thing, because a lot of people shit on Connecticut. Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of people shit on Connecticut. It's like, you're just a highway between Boston and New York. And
100%.
No,
I've heard it all before, like from living in New York to traveling and do music. And I'm sure Zulu can attest to this too. Like when we go places, like, oh, you guys are in Hartford. Like we used to do studio sessions in Brooklyn and Manhattan all the time. And a lot of people didn't even know Hartford, but if they did, they were just like, is there anything going on there? But I always say Hartford's the type of place that everything's bubbling like right under the surface. Like if you're not to say, in the know or whatever, but you truly have to spend a few days here. You have to spend more than a few days here to immerse yourself in what the opportunities are in the community, because it is all community based. And like, you're not going to drive through and notice any of it on first glance. You know what I mean?
It's all hidden.
Yeah. And that's great though, because there's so much to offer, but it takes kind of ingratiating yourself in the community and teaching people what options are available.
Exactly.
And
you have to want to be in the community, and the community will immediately rise to the occasion.
Absolutely. And all my friends are entrepreneurs, or all my friends are starting things, organizations, like you guys, and everybody at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then Zulu has his own company, and Elijah has his coffee shop. And I just love that you can be surrounded in a small community with people that are still ambitious to like make something out of nothing.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And on not even on the flip of that, but in addition to that, like, for lack of a better term, so nice about it, so
Yeah.
open and warm and welcoming
100%.
too. At least from the experiences that I have had.
Totally.
So open and warm and welcoming and very like, yeah, dude, we'll help you out, of course, like all that. It's a beautiful thing to be like in this state that actually does just like kind of stomp you down and stuff like that.
100%. I think that's why I've
Yeah.
stuck around as long as I have, honestly.
Same here. I'm like, I want to travel around, but I think I might land back in Connecticut.
It always feels like home, for sure.
Exactly.
And I'm not from here originally. Like, I'm from Massachusetts, so
Yeah.
it is kind of like a second home already.
Gotcha.
Some people know that. Some people don't, like, for people that know my music and stuff. But, I grew up in the Springfield area, so
Gotcha.
pretty similar city, similar vibe. Honestly, it reminds me a lot of where I grew up.
Mhm.
But, I'm technically a transplant as
Look at
well. You know, I
you.
went to college around here, but I
Yeah.
decided to come back for all the reasons we just named.
Yeah.
So.
Well, did you know, I was reading about this literally last night. Did you know that Connecticut's, and I'm going to butcher this, but Connecticut's seal, the thing that's under the seal in Latin,
Oh, yeah.
those who transplant will still sustain.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
Okay,
So
okay.
even Connecticut's like, I don't know, motto.
Sustenance or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever. It's like, it's still like, dude, you could like hang out here and it'd still be great.
Yeah.
It'd still be fine. you know?
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You obviously, well, you said you were from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Correct. Yes. Born and raised in Springfield. Went to high school there. I ended up studying music here at Trinity College in Hartford, which is what
Nice.
initially brought me
Nice.
to the area.
Mhm.
I studied something pretty niche, like it's ethnomusicology
What is
and world
that?
music. So it's kind of like the anthropology of music.
Gotcha.
You would choose either a region or a section or some type of cultural phenomenon within music
Mhm.
and study how music has impacted
Mm.
that culture, that region, how it's formed the social identity of a place. So
Interesting.
it just so happened I kind of fell into Brazilian music because my professor was a Brazilian percussionist. Shout out Eric Gom.
Gotcha.
And that's really where it took off with my more creative pursuits. I always loved music, but I was just writing things here and there in high school. I think in college I really started to come into my own of just exploring and not being afraid to put whatever I made out there.
Mhm.
And then I studied in Brazil for about 6 months
Mm.
and performed a lot of samba percussion, worked with samba schools down there.
Bossa Nova.
Yeah, bossa nova as
Oh,
well. Yeah,
My
100%.
dude, high five.
I'm
Fucking-
not a great bossa nova, like guitar or anything like that, but
Yeah.
definitely samba percussion was
Mm.
more my forte, but there's so much bossa nova
There's
down
so
there.
much. It's one of my
Um,
favorite genres of music.
It's unbelievable. Brazilian music in general is just
Mhm.
is so rich and all the percussive elements, and they still find their way into a lot of things I make
Sure. I can hear it in
rhythmically.
some of your songs. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of hand drums, percussion, so yeah, that was kind of my introduction into music in a formal way. And then when I graduated college, moved to New York City, did the New York thing for about a year.
Mm.
I was working a full-time job that I hated, that had nothing to do with music.
Yeah.
So it kind of like stained my experience in New York, and I think I conflated not liking New York with just
Not
not
liking your
liking my job and my
Yeah.
experience.
Mm.
And I think a lot of my friends knew that, but I was young and kind of dumb, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave the city. And I probably did it like a little too soon. But that being said, everything happens for a reason. I came back here in
Completely believe it.
2015, met this guy Zulu DJing in downtown Hartford on Pratt Street,
Mhm.
and that's really where we took off creatively, making my own stuff and releasing it. I think within like 6 months of us meeting,
Mhm.
we put out my first single called Frequency, which is like crazy to think about. It was a long time ago. Yeah, and that was just SoundCloud. And
Really?
I will say, the first single in SoundCloud got me my first management deal with a company in New York called
Oh,
Major
shit.
Stage. So I was not expecting that. I was hoping for something like that, but they're independent, smaller distribution label,
Mhm.
and they didn't really work with a lot of artists at the time. They were more doing shows, like live shows in New York City, and curating events and things
Mhm.
like that. Shout out Major Stage. And but yeah, they heard this song that Zulu and I made, and I'd say it was more traditional R&B, like not traditional, but just guitar, bass, drums, pretty simple.
Yeah.
But it's a great song. It's still one of my favorite songs. So
Awesome.
yeah, and then from there, I've just been kind of pursuing it pretty much full on for the last 5 or 6 years, with little forays into other things here and there to just, make ends meet.
Mm.
But almost everything has been, circling around music for, 5 or 6 years now. So.
Now, no, that's really dope. But I was gonna ask, like, I remember because we met in Samia, literally yesterday.
Yes.
It was a very chance encounter. As you said,
Love
everything
it.
kind of happens for a reason.
Serendipity, yeah.
Very much so. Your start in music, would you say it was from your dad?
100%.
100%?
I
Yeah.
owe almost all that I do in music to my father. He growing up, my mother was musical too, for sure. She could sing, and I have 2 sisters, and they were both talented singers as well. But I grew up with instruments all over the house because of my father. Like I said, the guitars that are right here, both his. We had a grand piano, like a baby. I don't know if it's a baby grand or not. Really old that his grandmother had. And my father played professionally up through his around my age, like late 20s, early 30s. He was on tour with a lot of bands in the 60s and 70s. And then he decided to go for a more quote unquote practical route, but always kept music in his life. And I grew up from day one with records playing, a lot of old Motown, old soul music, everything from that to Delta Blues, Muddy Waters, Sonny Boy Williamson, all the old blues stuff. And then all the way up through like folk. He was also big in folk, so Dylan and Joni Mitchell, and then of course like Beatles, Led Zeppelin, classic rock, but everything. And he was the first one that taught me how to strum a few chords on guitar. Yeah, I mean, and he encouraged it, which I'm appreciative of, because I know not all parents do. Yeah. And he didn't do it for a living by later in his life, but he actually got into Berkeley on saxophone, and decided and turned down to go to Berkeley College of Music and studied economics at Western New England back in Springfield, and stayed in the area. He wanted to, he needed to be there for his family and stuff. So he was the eldest of like 6 siblings. So I think he always felt like me pursuing it was something that maybe he could live a little bit vicariously through and live on. And just like, he was proud that I was willing to take some of those risks that maybe he was like, I'm glad someone's in the family is doing it. You know what I mean?
And that's a really beautiful thing. Because to kind of get into like parental stuff for a little bit, because not to tangent for a little bit, but I was talking to my friend about this yesterday, or no, not yesterday, like 2 days ago, about parents and about lineage, and how there are some parents who will kind of push you to do things and push you to do well, but no one's perfect in that fact.
Of course. I
was kind of wondering how you, because your dad unfortunately passed.
He did. Yes.
I was wondering how you kind of view your father and his message and or like a message that he may have like kind of given to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he knew that legacy was involved in what I was trying to do, even while he was still alive. Thank God for 30 years with him. And like, ever since I started pursuing music professionally, like, I would always tell him, like, yo, Dad, like, I want you to see me. There's a lot of validation involved, right, with like parents. It's like, I was doing a lot of it for myself. At the same time, it made me so happy to see him. I'm like, yo, Dad, like, when I get my first single, I do my first thing. Like, I can't wait to send it to you. And like, I just want your approval. I want your validation. I want you to see like what I'm doing. And I just love your reaction to
the icing on
my
top,
music. Man. And that's something that really pains me to not be able to see it in real time anymore. But like, I even had a song just in the past 2 years. It's kind of strange how like this turns out, but I had a song called Make My Dad Proud. That was one of my singles right before the pandemic hit, oddly enough. And it's kind of all weird the way life turned out, but it was one of my favorite songs I wrote. It was one of the more raw emotional songs I wrote. And I'm glad while he was still here, I actually like made a song that included him that vividly and that obviously, because I'm glad I didn't like pull any shots with that. Like, I really wanted to make a song that showed that his legacy and his direct parenting of me and relationship with me is like what inspires me to make music. And I was no stranger to saying that in every, not interview, but anybody I talked to about music. Seriously. I would always say that.
Because a lot of people could get a little bit like in their own ego about it and be like, no, I do it for me, I do it for this. Yeah. But the fact that you're very open about it shows a lot that, of who you actually are and how your heart is open.
For sure.
And I feel like that then breeds, not that it needs to in a monetary sense, but like that breeds better music. That breeds better, because you're allowing the emotions to flow through you. You're not just trying to bottle them up.
I'd like to think so. I mean, absolutely. I think early on, ego definitely, like, for anybody that wants to go into music, like, you certainly can't act like you don't want validation and attention from the things you create, because you do make them for other people to hear, right? Exactly. So I think I evolved from that. I think when I was in college, I was like, oh, I want to make like pop music and I want to be like a star. Like, I truly was like, I think I could be a star. Like, I think I could do this. And it's like, you can make money, you can have a good life. I can sing. Why not? Not that many guys sing the type of music I sing. Like, let me just do it. Right. And but then my tune changed a lot as I like went through creating and writing. And as my father got older and I was talking with him about it a lot, and it started to come from a different place. And just dealing with my own personal stuff like mental health, anxiety, all that just started to seep into the music more, and it didn't just become about like let's make some fire and let's like everything on social is just like, yo, beats are hard, everything's fire, like fire, banger,
all that.
bop, like everything's
all that.
TikTok, everything's like gotta be a banger, and there's just like pressure to just make music that's just gonna like always catch.
Well.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Zulu and I've been talking about this a lot lately, but it's transformed naturally my creative cycle with what means a lot more to me now in life, and but I've been doing it 10 plus years, and I'm only starting to see how exactly I want the vision to be versus when I started.
It's a crazy thing because like I myself am an artist.
Yeah,
I'm an artist.
I know. I heard you making some fire beats yesterday. That's when we met.
I try.
I see. Speaking of fire
beats.
beats.
Yeah, exactly. That is the next pursuit that I have, or one of the pursuits that I have. Yeah. I find myself to very much be a multi-tool when it comes to my art. But what I'm more trying to say is, allowing yourself the grace to mess up, to make mistakes, and to push on through them to better results. And it is insane to me the process where you do it for the people first.
Yeah.
You get caught in the cycle of I only create for validation from others. And then eventually something clicks. Because it happened with me probably last year or 2 years ago, where I was like, why the fuck am I creating for this, that, and the other person? Why am I creating for your validation? Why am I not creating from in here? Why am I not creating for myself? And it blew my mind because I was like, and that's what I do now. Yeah, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, and the great irony of all ironies is that when you start creating for yourself, other people tend to love that more than when you're trying to create for other people. You know what I mean? Because it's inauthentic to just try to seek what are people going to like. Like if you don't love what you make, and if you don't love what you make first, like I've had the unfortunate scenario of putting out a few songs or singles that I wasn't in love with, and it just shows through because you're not in it the way you are when it's something that you love first. And people always tell me like, like OGs in the music industry, like if you don't love the song before anybody hears it and you're not vibing to it as hard as possible and something that you absolutely adore, then you can't expect other people to get excited about it. So sorry to cut you off. The first person to put one penny down on your song should be you. Yeah. 100%. The first person to put $1 down to buy your song should be you. 100%. Yeah. And that just has been the motto with me in my art as well. Where it's like, if I'm not creating for fun, if I'm just creating because of this, that, and the other reason, because I want to get the affection of some girl or some art studio or whatever, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I feel like God or the universe, whatever higher power, whoever, is out floating out there, they give you, I call it like a superpower. Everybody has the ability to do at least one thing really well. Yes. And strictly like by themselves, but writing, signing your name by yourself, and it is an injustice to yourself to not do that. Exactly. Yeah. If you're just copy paste what other people are doing. Yeah. And it's natural to go through a cycle. I think early on you're often heavily influenced by your favorite artists and the icons that you grew up with. So you naturally, I think imitation, right, is the greatest form of flattery, people always say. But early on you often imitate your favorite artist, you know what I mean? And we've all been there if we've done this long enough. And then you eventually, hopefully, grow out of that phase, and you still take the best things. You ever read that book, Steal Like an Artist?
Yes, I saw the I saw the TED Talk actually.
Yes, that's a great concept, right? Like all the great artists have taken bits and pieces of their inspirations and found a way to make it fresh. And let's be honest, you're never gonna make it like they did anyways, because you're you. Exactly. I can only be Brandon. So it's like even if the people that I'm influenced by seep themselves into my work, like you bring your own voice to everything you do and your own shades of experience. So it's like, at the end of the day, but I think I saw those cycles come in and out of my artistic career as like, oh, does this sound too much like this? Does this sound too much like that? And I think even the stuff I was playing for you earlier, I think I'm starting to find ways to make things fully my own in a way that I haven't done
exactly
yet.
And that is the most beautiful thing that any artist, whatever medium, whatever form, can achieve, is truly trying to make it your own, but not trying to make it your own. It's discovering, like
Yeah.
the process of discovery that, oh, this is something fresh, this is something new. I forgot what you were saying earlier, but you were like, it was the slide guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to add this, that. I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
because you know who's gonna fucking steal it. But yeah,
No, it's fine. We
yeah,
can
but
talk
you were
about it.
trying to add the slide guitar and like more like
Yeah. It's like an
yeah,
homage to my father, kind of like
exactly.
an ode to him. I think all the music I want to make in the next year or so is kind of like little subtle odes to him in different ways in the music that he raised me on,
Exactly.
but with all the things that I grew up with too.
Yeah.
So Zulu and I have been discussing recently when I'm producing, like just for instance, slide guitar
Mhm.
or some old-timey folk piano chords that you might not hear with 808s in a traditional, trap beat or something like that.
Exactly.
It's just different things that I'm trying to do subtly. I don't want it to be so obvious, like a
Mhm.
whole tribute to him, but I do
Yeah.
want to find ways to incorporate that in kind of
Yeah.
like little Easter eggs, you know?
That's a good word for it.
Yeah,
That's a good word, because he
yeah.
is the dude who is the man who
Absolutely.
started you and
The-
started you. Like
The
yeah.
DNA runs through me, and it's like
Yeah.
that's kind of the concept of
Mhm.
whatever record I'm coming up with next is
Mm.
the past. I almost think of it, I kind of want to do a project where it's like the first half is the past, and there's nostalgia, and there's sadness,
Mhm.
and there's longing for the days that are over.
Mhm.
But the second half of the album is the future, and the fact that I'm here now, right in between my past and my future, and my father's no longer here to guide me, but I have to carry forward, and he's also who I modeled my whole life after. So it definitely felt like the rug was pulled out from under me a little bit. But the future can be optimistic, bright, inspiring, motivated. So some of the thing I played you hear more like gospel chords that are a little more like uplifting,
Yeah.
and it doesn't all need to be down and sad. But those are the
Mhm.
two sides of the coin. Like the past, I get stuck in nostalgia very easy,
Mhm.
especially this past year.
Mm.
And then, but I'm also a pretty optimistic person about the future. So,
Hell yeah.
I kind of need to balance that in my music.
I would love to hear the interlude.
Yeah, I know,
would
right? There's
love
something
that
right
would
in between,
probably
right?
be my favorite track off that album.
That's
the
a
interlude.
That's a great
Yeah.
point. Yeah,
Because that point right there would be the point of metamorphosis.
absolutely.
Yeah, that would be the point from the cocoon to the fucking butterfly.
Yeah, and I think I'm in that right now. I hope like I'm
Mm.
creating in that space right now, like
Exactly.
right in the interlude. Like,
exactly.
I'm right in between there. So
That's cool.
I
That's
gotta
cool.
try to just harness that, tease
Exactly.
it out, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I feel like every great artist, as I've said like 20 times in this point, but like every great artist also is like a detective to their own life story,
mm-hmm.
and their own kinks and like fucking how they work and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
you gotta
it's a
mine. You gotta dig. You gotta.
Yeah, people think, oh, you're just an artist, you just fucking do this, and it's like, oh, it's easy. Or it's like, no, it's like, it's amazing.
Or there's like two different sides of my brain when I'm creating. Like I could come in here and
Mhm.
mindlessly make beats, quote unquote, which I do
Yeah.
a lot of, and it's just like a nice release and a nice
Mhm.
practice. It's
Mhm.
like practicing the craft. Like,
Exactly.
okay, let's make some really dope sounds and instrumentals.
Mhm.
But to sit here and dig in and be like, okay, no, now I need to make something that is for me as an artist and
Exactly.
is going to satisfy my soul
Mhm.
before anybody else hears it.
Mhm.
As you said, seeking your own validation for it. That takes a level of energy. Like I'm literally exhausted. If I have a
Mhm.
session like that, I'll be pretty tired afterwards. Just,
Exactly. It's like you
exhausted
ran a
mentally.
marathon.
Yeah, I'll
it's
be
crazy.
emotionally because I'm really trying to dig in there. It's like
Mhm.
self therapy. Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
yeah,
Because again, you can't keep it all trapped inside. Because if you keep it
Gotta
all
do
trapped
something.
inside, it's gonna get some dark shit.
absolutely.
You have to have an outlet, a channel, something to just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it never ends well if you. Yeah,
No.
and I've struggled with that, like keeping
Same
it
here.
inside for too
Yeah.
long at a time. Suppressing emotions and stuff, especially this past year. But
Gotcha.
right, it's gonna come out in ways you don't want unless you
Yeah.
allow yourself some time to like grace for yourself. That's a
Mhm.
great word and term
I
to
definitely
describe
think so.
it.
I definitely
Allow
think so.
yourself grace. That's like something I've been trying to like
Exactly.
kind of meditate on as I make
Yeah.
things. Like you don't have to be this perfectly healed person of the things you're going through, but
No.
you can find ways. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No one rarely is. Scars will still show. It's just
Yeah.
don't pick at them. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I
seriously,
like
man.
that. I
It's
like
a good.
that.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
a man of
okay.
metaphors, man.
Damn.
Thank you, thank you,
He
thank
said-
you. I am a man of metaphors.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna have
know.
to steal that one.
Go for it,
That's
dude.
good.
Use it. use it.
That's nice.
But yeah. All right, we're rounding about 24 minutes.
Yeah,
I would like to circle it at around like 30.
Sure.
But I had a question that was gonna be a really good ending. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Here.
Yeah.
Here, go for it.
Take the mic.
I don't know if the camera can see me, but that's fine.
Disembodied.
I'm just an anonymous person just here. But I wanted to know, like, I think you guys brought up a good point with, you brought up a good point with giving yourself grace. And I think that's something that's difficult to do as artists because we're in a world where people, like, fast fashion is, like, one portion of, like, art that's like constantly stolen, but like that happens in all industries and all forms of art. Like machines draw now, machines produce music, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's hard for other people who aren't artists to look at us and, you know, give us grace. So we have to like figure out ways to give ourselves that. But also like there's people who are like, just get a real job, just just get a degree, this, that, the third, you know what I'm saying?
I've
so
heard
like
it all over 10 years.
I wanted to know, you know, what's been your hardest struggle this year creatively, and what pushes you to keep going?
Great. Yeah.
Thanks, Busy.
Thank you. Yeah. This makes me think. I mean, this year, certainly, obviously, I mean, the death of my father was really it was a turning point in my whole life. Like, certainly, all I can think of is like life before that and life after that. It was kind of on this axis, right? And I'd say to create after that was almost near impossible, right? Like, at least for, I mean, what are we? We're almost a year. It'll be a year in October that he passed, and I'm just now sitting down with some consistency to write and make music in the last like month or two. So, you know, 7 or 8 months, I really just, I couldn't get myself to do it. It was two things. I'll either sit down and make something that I was super detached from, so I wouldn't have to dig deep and I wouldn't have to feel and I wouldn't have to cry as I'm making stuff, or I just don't make anything at all. So I wanted to wait until I could get to a point where I could delve into some of the things I'm feeling without feeling so overwhelmed by the emotion of it that I just couldn't sit down and do it, right? Like, I started writing lyrics, I started making music that reminds me of him, and it's just impossible. I just couldn't get through it. The level of grief was too deep, right? So I was like delicately trying to push myself to see, like, can I sit down for 10 minutes? Can I sit down for 15 minutes? Can I sit down for an hour and make some things that I actually like and that feel like what I feel inside without being so overwhelmed that I just have to stop, you know? So that's been the biggest challenge. And it's the biggest challenge creatively in my life. Like, because as I said, I came from a different perspective in music earlier. Like, I had made some pretty sad stuff due to other reasons, but nothing like this. And then I also made a lot of like party music and dance music and stuff that wasn't at all on the level of the things I'm trying to create now. And it just came from a different headspace. So yeah, that would be the biggest challenge. And then optimistically, is that you asked? Like,
yeah, like what keeps you going?
What keeps me going? I mean, I absolutely fucking love creating things. Like, I just love creating music. Like, it makes my heart speed up. Like, it literally, like, I'm in love with it. Like, I was just like feeling in the moment yesterday, feeling myself. I was about to post on Instagram, just on my story with just like a black screen and be like, I am obsessed with music. Like I was just like sitting at my computer being like, if I didn't have this, I just don't know what I would do with myself. Like, I just absolutely am in love with it. Like, even after time away, I just feel a draw eventually to do it again.
Yep.
And it's almost a need, right? It's like an itch. Like, it's not like, oh, I have to sit down. It's like, if I don't get it out of my system and make something, it's just going to build up. So sooner or later, no matter how depressed I am or in grief I am, like, it's who I am at my core, right? That's just how I feel. Like, as you said, like, you get a little gift or a little something that you're supposed to do with your life, whether monetarily or not. But it just feels like it's who you are, right? You don't really have a choice. Like, it's your job. Yeah, I never felt like I had a choice. I'm not very good at many other things. like I don't feel like I could do anything else. Like, I've tried a lot of other stuff. I've done 9 to 5s. I've taken a million other jobs into the sun in pursuit of this, and I've always come back to being like, no, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, no matter how long it takes.
It's always what you come back to.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, sometimes, like, I went through grief like 2 years ago during the pandemic. My brother passed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And one of the things that grief makes you do, but also like just loss in general makes you do, is pause and forces you to live. Like, you have to experience in order to create. But if you're creating the whole time, what are you experiencing? So that's why you're detached from what you're creating, you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So, like, you have to take time to live and breathe and experience life so that you can come back to your work anew. You know?
I tell my friends that are artists that a lot. Like, that cycle of, like, you can't always be creating because then you have nothing to draw inspiration from. And it's like, lived experience is what the best writers, you have the best novels in the world, the best music in the world, art, photography, whatever. It's like, yeah, it comes from long periods of just living, because art is just an imitation of life, or it's just an expression of life.
It's
so like
a whole, it's two koi fish circling.
Yeah,
two koi fish dancing,
absolutely.
Fucking Avatar. Yeah, there you go.
They reflect each other, right?
Come on.
But you can't just put a mirror on making your own music without, going out there. You know what I mean? Like,
Not
what
at
are you
all.
gonna have to write about, as you said? And
There's gonna be nothing new in the pipe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's input output. I think about it, right?
Exactly.
Like we are like very advanced, either biological machines or spirits with something. Right, it's something, right? And it's like we have input, just like a computer or anything else, and then output is the art output. I really think the output is art as like a society for humanity.
Yeah,
we like to make things in general. I think we're just like a creative.
We are natural creators.
I think that's what makes humans, right? Like we create, right? Like other species
definitely.
don't do it just for creation's sake. I feel like necessarily. So we just create because we want to create things.
I think that other species of living things, obviously, like they're creating for like biological sake, like they have to. Like that's why they're reproducing and all that stuff. Like we are art, like we are living pieces of art, and so it's like it's interesting because society will place emphasis on math and science and say that math is everywhere, but within math there's art, so it's art is everywhere, is it not?
Of course it is.
You know what I'm saying? So like I think that emphasis that you put on like human beings just being natural creators is a huge thing, because a lot of times we force ourselves to hold stuff in. We are always just like bottle up, put the cap on, make sure it's a strong bottle, you know, acting like we're genies or something.
Make sure that bottle's strong.
So, and it's like, no, like just, why don't you just be the energy that you are? Like we live in this vessel, like this physical vessel of ours, but we are in fact just literal balls of energy that exist within this body. So let it be free, let it flow. And that's kind of,
that's a great way of putting it. And like honestly, like low key, like my whole life I've been like a little bundle of energy. Like you can't hold me down. Like I'm sorry. Like even no matter what I go through and things like that, I truly feel like the only ability I have to bounce back is because I'm like always teeming with energy. Like and that you can only keep it's like a bouncy ball that you can only keep down for so long. I bounce it back because I truly feel like everybody always describes you that, like Brandon, you're just like a bundle of like, sometimes it's too much, but you're like a bundle of energy. Like you have a lot of like, you're just vibrating all the time.
A way to channel it.
Yeah, I need to do stuff like this or basketball, because like I really struggle with like sitting down and focusing and stuff. And yeah, I've always struggled with that. But ever since I was a kid, like I always wanted to create stuff, and it's been my only like light through the tunnel for the last year. It's like, yeah, like at the end of the day, my spirit. I remember I used to say, like, when my father first passed, I'd tell my sisters, like, am I gonna be the same Brandon afterwards? Like I was really nervous. I was like, am I not gonna be that like fun loving, joyful? Because you know, you truly feel like you're probably never gonna be the same, and you aren't. But I was like, and they were like, Brandon, no matter what we're going through, you gotta understand, like, you're still you at the end of the day. We're still us. Like that spirit, whoever you are, your personality is not. I was really worried my personality was like permanently gonna change, and all the things that made me were not gonna be me anymore. Like the fun loving, happy go lucky, seeing the glass half full, like always trying to like remain hopeful through the darkest of things. And for a long time I wasn't, but I'm starting to get back to that, and it made me finally realize that like that's the power of it. I was like, I'm actually still am that person.
It's
like,
true.
like underneath that all, it just might take a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, and I want to do it more now. I'm like, damn, life is so precious, and like you have to spread that. It sounds corny, but you really gotta spread that little light, whatever you have. Like
you have to let
at
it shine,
all
man.
times, dude. Like yeah, there's a reason those hymns work for a reason.
It's fucking true. There's so many people walking in darkness. That if there's people that have light or that are light,
you just have to. And I've always been that way, but now more than ever. Like, in honor of my dad and in honor of the, I'm the way I am because he was like an extroverted like man about town that knew everybody in his community in Springfield. And like, that's just like who I looked up to. So I was, like I just feel like I had no choice, and it's starting to like radiate again from me. Exactly. But it's been a while.
Yeah. I'm glad to see your light shining, man.
Thanks, dude. I'm trying. We're trying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, she wants.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to kind of like, because I know we do want to. I think this is like a beautiful thing to wrap up, a way to wrap things up, because the fact that you said like the preferred name for you is the Lunchbox.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing, because it's almost like Pandora's box, but in a positive light. Like you're open, like you have this lunchbox, and on the outside it's like a plain color. But then you open it up and you get all this beauty coming out, all this food, all this good,
nourishment.
This good things to feed you with, which is exactly like, you know what I'm saying?
That's dope. I like that symbolism.
I think that's beautiful. Like,
I agree.
I was about to tear up because I'm like, I feel like I know a lot of artists in the city and stuff, and like again, like that's why I was here surprised that I know, but I've been around for like been around for a minute and like meeting a lot of people, and I feel like I don't always get the chance to like sit down with all you guys and like talk and get to know your stories and stuff. And so to like be able to do this is like a very beautiful experience. So
No, thank you guys. This is amazing.
Shit.
Yeah. And I haven't really
Wholesome as
talked about
shit.
this stuff with anybody, really, for the most part.
Well, I'm
Besides, like,
glad
my girlfriend. Like,
no, but I'm glad you're choosing to like express
Yeah,
it. You
absolutely.
know, opening up your lunchbox.
it feels
essentially.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Open up my lunchbox, see what's in the lunchbox. And
This is good. Some good
it
ass
tastes
fucking
good.
lunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. It gives
Mhm.
me an opportunity, too, to think through my own shit. You know what I
It's
mean?
really good. It's really good to have a person to talk to because you know
Yeah.
you need to have some sort of like intelligent mirror to just kind of bounce stuff off.
Absolutely.
Of. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
You
I'm glad
know?
you guys got to hear some snippets of some potential new stuff.
Killer beats,
Yeah.
killer compositions. Like what the fuck?
I can't wait. Yeah.
Well, this should be the point where you can plug your stuff, plug your Instagram,
Yeah.
new projects, anything you want.
Yeah. Is this camera on too?
That camera is on. It's
At-
beeping red.
At Brandon Serafino on all platforms. That's BrandonSerafino. Yeah, Brandon Serafino on Instagram. All streaming platforms. I have one project out from 2018 that's a full length called Living Room that that's more like some R&B vibes. Yeah, which is very appropriate, right? Because I always make music in my living room. I find it to be the best place to do it. And then I have a bunch of singles on there for your enjoyment. So yeah, check it out and be on the lookout for new music soon. I've been in the lab. I've been in the dojo, just doing my thing, and I'm performing all the time. Catch me every Friday here on Farmington Ave at the Food Truck Park, 6 to 9 p.m. I'll be there tomorrow night, and I'm at El Santo in West Hartford every other Wednesday singing some tunes. So come out to a show, come support.
Come support your
Yeah.
local homie.
Yeah,
And thank you for coming to lunch with us.
dude. Thank you for letting me open my lunchbox.
That's what I was gonna say. Thank you
To
for
share.
opening your lunchbox.
My meal ticket.
It's a good fucking name. It's a good fucking name. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you later.
Thank you guys.